Yes, guys, and welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV for yet another pre-match pump-up. Not sure it's going to be much of a pre-match pump-up today, to be honest, after the week we've had a nightmare 7 days out of the Champions League, out of the FA Cup, and of course making top four a lot harder on ourselves. But before we get going, I want to give a quick shout out to Sean Butler, who's usually here with us, but today he's actually at the game. It's his dad's birthday, so happy birthday, Mr. Butler. He's there with his brother and his father, so hopefully you have a good day out and at least something to celebrate. I also want to apologize for the delay. We had a few connection issues, but we are here. We're committed, and we're bringing you your show. We will always, make sure we get it sorted out for you guys, so no need to worry. But look, Ash, how are you, my man?
Woo! I'm good. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to be hearing in a stadium. It's magic. Oh, it's magic. Or is it tragic? Who knows, man? Who knows? I'm good, bro. I'm good.
I think you'd be better off playing tragedy, to be honest with
you. I've been better, man. I felt like I was coming down with something. I don't know if it was Tottenhamitis, and Dr. Tottenham came to visit us quite a few times in the last week or so. So yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm hoping to feel a bit better. I saw the result with Liverpool so far, so
1-1.
I'm not letting that get me carried away in any shape or form. But yeah, man, other than that, I'm all right, man. Life is good.
Yeah, look, I'm in a bad mood, Ash. I'm not gonna lie. I travelled over there Wednesday for that Champions League game, and ultimately, what I saw and the way I left the stadium, dejected, pissed off, angry, upset, sad, not sure where, how we get out of it, what to do going forward. And ultimately, as much as I don't blame Conte for a lot of what's gone on here this season, I think I have to accept that probably a change is coming, to be honest with you. Look, I don't think you control, the fact that Hugo Lloris has dropped clangers this season on Conte. He was a guy in decline, and an issue we needed to sort out before Conte even arrived here. We knew he was in decline. It's an issue for me that predates Conte. Also the same as the defence, a massive issue that also predates Conte. I don't think you can blame them on him. Also, you've got a core group of players who have helped us go out of the cups early, which has led to all of this, which also kills momentum, for some of our star players, some of our forward players. You can't keep relying on them to score every single game. It's a warning shot I sent out. Now the goals have dried up and we're still losing games because we don't know how to keep clean sheets. For me, issues that are coming back to haunt us that predate Conte. But ultimately, I think I have to accept the change is coming. So, Ash, let me ask you, regardless of the result today, we've seen rumours that some people have been up into Levy's office, some players asking for a Potts return. Many of the fans are pissed off. They booed the team off at halftime and full-time Wednesday night. A lot of the fan base want Conte out. Regardless, and I believe Paratici, even though apparently he's going to be replaced, he's been asked to draw up a short list of managers for the future. So, I mean, where are you at with it, Ash? Do you want Conte gone now? And regardless of the result today, do you think he will go?
Oh man, I'm like back and forth. Obviously, because results have been so poor of late, so everyone's quite highly strung and emotional. And I think it wasn't just the results. I think it was the manner we went out on Wednesday against AC Milan, and a poor AC Milan at that. So we had a chance to progress. No one was expecting us to win the Champions League, but what we was expecting was to put up a fight, and we never saw that, especially from back end of bad results. We had a bad result against Wolves. Albeit that we controlled the game, I felt that we didn't really create any clear-cut opportunities for our players. And then on top of that, we crashed out the cup. I think that's the one that killed us, because we crashed out the cup. I think that was unforgivable. It was a second-string Sheffield United team, a B team for Sheffield United, and the boys went up for it. I think Sheffield United wanted it more. And the funny thing is, they came out and were like, they want to prioritize getting promoted to the Premier League because they're second. So their fans weren't really bothered about a cup run, where we were very passionate about it. And I think what tops it all off is that our ambition was coming off the back of the top four. You know, we got the top four from Conte. He came in, and he's the one that was saying, you know, what do you want? Fifth, sixth, seventh? Do you know what I mean? What type of club do you want to be? So he was kind of bringing that ambition to the fans, like, I'm a winner, I'm a winner. I want to win things here. So I think the expectation didn't do him any favors. And then on top of it, when he came out of his press conference, instead of him saying, like, we were poor, you know, we need to fix up, the results haven't gone our
Yeah.
way, and, you know, the players and myself know this is unacceptable. He's gone and he said that Milan have won the Scudetto the season before. Do you know what I mean? And he's talked about Giroud being like a superstar, and Diaz, and how like Hernandez and all those players, like, you know, are superstars. When we've got 6 good attackers on the bench, not on the bench, but we've got 6 good attackers to choose from. And to be fair, like, defensively, you know, Sheffield United, okay, that was a bad defensive performance, but on the whole, before that, we had a few clean sheets, you know, against Chelsea and West Ham. And although we've been losing, it's only been like 1-0. It hasn't been horrific defensively. Do you know what I mean? And I do
But it has
understand.
been over the course of this season, though, Ashmatic. You know,
Yeah, of course.
there were
No, of course, of course.
the amount of games where we were 1-0, 2-0 down at half time. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and although it's not been as bad recently, it's still bad. We're still not keeping.
No, of course. No, we can't deny the fact of that. But the point I was trying to make is, regardless of that, the attacking's been poor as well. So it's like, you could argue, like, maybe in the last, I don't know, 6 or 8 games, our defense hasn't been the greatest, but we haven't leaked that much, if that makes sense. But there's no excuse for going forward. And so that's where I want the accountability from the coach to say, look, if we've been defending horribly, yeah, I understand the whole foundation and all that. You need a strong, solid foundation because our keeper has been leaking goals. Dyer's been leaking goals. Longley's been making mistakes. The list goes on. Emerson Royale has only turned up this half of the season. You know, before the World Cup, he was woeful. Left wing back's been a problem as well. We haven't really had a good left wing back. So the whole back five, the whole system has been flawed. It's not like, oh, the right wing back was working or the left wing back was working, or we had, you know, even Romero's been poor, like, and he's only come good slightly after the World Cup, and then he had comments about Argentina and he was being questioned. So it was just a whole back five was a mess. And then on top of it, what happened on Wednesday night when he did that rash challenge? He's been doing that all season. He's been doing rash challenges, and they say that we've tried to speak to him about time and etc. But it's just naivety. You can't really coach the naivety. It's not. You can't really make an excuse for challenges like that.
I disagree with you on Romero. I'm going to ask you on Romero, and then I'm going to come back to another point you made and ask you another question off the back of it. For me, I see a lot being made out of Romero's cards this season since he's picked up, since he's been here. So it's, 23 cards, I think, in 54 games or something like that. So it's basically a card every other game and 3 red cards in the 18 months that he's been here.
Yeah.
But for me, I would argue he's the only one putting his body on the line. You know, look at Eric Dyer. Look how many times that guy drops off. Go back and look at some of the goals we've conceded where he drops off, refuses to make a challenge. So no one's going to talk about Dyer picking up yellow cards. Davies is the same thing. But when you look at Romero, he's the only one out there willing to make a challenge. You know, the only one out there willing to try and stop players directly running at our box. The only one out there putting his body on the line. And I actually wish we had more players like Romero, because if you did, it wouldn't all be left on this guy to do it. He's the only defender we have where you can see it in him. He actually loves defending. You know, you got to be a sicko. You got to love hitting challenges. You got to love taking the ball to the nuts, the stomach, the face, areas where it hurts, you know. And Romero embodies that. And for me, I can't get onto him for the amount of cards. Don't get me wrong. I think some of the talent challenges can be a bit reckless and a bit hot-headed. But he's the only one doing it back there.
For me, it's the type of defender you have, because, and I agree, like, Dyer doesn't like defending, it's like he doesn't like defending.
Mm.
He shies away
He hates it.
and
He
he
hates it.
backs off. And it's like, right, we need you to block. If you're not going to make a challenge, at least block the shots or block the cross. And he does
Mm.
neither. Like, he doesn't neither of them.
Yeah.
And so he's good in the air sometimes, but in terms of reading the game, sometimes I'm like, all right, if Romero misses his challenge, I want you to be able to tell him, all right, I'm going to anticipate the next challenge or the next ball that's coming in over the top, and I want to drop maybe 5 yards back, and I'm gonna be able to read the game, so I won't have to do a sliding tackle and clean up. You know
Let
those
me
type of
ask you this.
defenders. You know those
If
type
he
of
had,
defenders that don't necessarily like slide tackle, but they're
yeah,
still like composed, like, and they somehow
yeah,
a bit like Toby. You know, like you had Toby Alderweireld, and then
yeah,
you had Jan Vertonghen. Vertonghen was more the Romero. Do you know what I'm saying? More the aggressive
yeah.
type. Was Toby kind of swept? He was like a sweeper. So that's what I was expecting. I think that's why Mourinho and Conte like him, because they see him as a defender. You got one that's kind of like, you know, sits off and like defends from deep, and then you've got one that's more front-footed. Do you know what I mean? So the two work, and they should
Mm.
balance each other out. Go on, sorry.
But I would also add, I think if Romero had a guy like that he trusted, that was dropping off behind him, I don't think Romero would make some of them challenges. You know, I don't think he trusts her. I think he thinks he's the best defender out there, and if he lets one sort of go without challenging him, you know, that he's afraid that they're going to go on to score because, you know, Dyer drops off too deep, in my opinion. But let me ask you, also talking about, look, the defensive issues and the creativity issues, no goals in four games now. I mean, is that an indication that the players then maybe are not playing for this manager anymore to you?
I just think you've got two attacking midfielders that are wingers. Kulu can play attacking mid, don't get me wrong. But I feel
Mm,
like it's a transition that's been happening. Some might argue that Son was playing attacking mid last season, but for
mm,
me, I see him as a wing forward more than an attacking mid. And I see
mm,
Richarlison as a wing forward or a forward.
mm,
So the profile player that we needed, we didn't go for in the summer. If that was the case, if we were going to play attacking mid, because that's the quote that came out why Dan Juma wasn't getting played. He hasn't
mm,
got the qualities to be an attacking midfielder, to be a 10. And I may argue, I don't really see Son Heung-min getting the ball from deep and playing the ball like Ericsson, cutting, splitting balls, splitting defenses, playing passes in between lines. I don't really see that as a strength of Song Heung-min. Song Heung-min's strengths are attacking the space, running into space, getting onto the end of things, and finishing, because he's
mm,
got world-class left foot, right foot ability. He can score from the left, he can score from the right. He's unpredictable, and he's not actually a bad dribbler either. When he's in dangerous positions, but
mm,
he just needs one-on-ones, and he needs the space to be more central to do that. And I would argue that Heung-min Son was more of a second striker by the type of goals he scores, or the
mm,
goals where he scores outside the box. He's not the top man, but he's just behind them, and he can score those balls. Most of the goals he scored this season actually have been from outside the box, left foot, right foot. So I would argue maybe
mm,
some of these players are being played out of position because they're asked to defend in a 5-4-1, which is fair enough, because when you lose the ball, you need the players to get back and help the defense. But then I just feel like the tactics, the way we set up, we've got 3 centre backs, we've got 2 defensive midfielders, and now you're asking our wing forwards to become attacking mids, and they're
mm,
asking them to defend as well, because that's a part of attacking mid. You've got to defend as well. You can't just stay up there and stay centrally.
mm.
Yeah.
Look, I, I hear you, do hear what you're saying. You know, the reason why we ended up getting a manager in here that plays a back is 5 is because they couldn't defend in the back 4 under Nuno or Jose Mourinho. So, and they haven't spent enough money, or nor do they want to, in vital positions like centre back. So that's why we play the way we do. You know, and it does look like Son has had to suffer because of it. So, you know, on that basis, for me, you know, I don't think changing manager is going to alleviate an awful lot. To be honest, I still think you're going to have the issue of goalkeeper. I still think you're going to have the issue of centre. I still think you're going to have the issue of not having a creative midfielder or a cam there. I think, look, you might see a better style of football. You might enjoy the games a bit more, but I don't think an awful lot would change. But I do believe the players have given up under this manager. I think today we'll definitely know for sure regardless. But here's the starting lineup. Fraser Forster, of course, retains his place in goal as Hugo Lloris is still out injured. I wonder, will we see him back before the end of the season? Romero, Dyer and Lenglet take their place across that back three. Pedro Porro at right wing back, so no Emerson. Of course, he was having to take a late fitness test today. He's not even on the bench either, so it doesn't look like he's passed that fitness test, and he has been struggling with a knock. So that means Pedro Porro, the postman, is in there, who is starting to look decent going forward, with Ben Davies back out at left wing back, which I think most fans expected. Perisic was absolutely useless during the week. And then you see here at the side, someone putting Sun dancing around now that Perisic is out of the team and Davies is in there, because they reckon that Perisic doesn't help Sonny or Eddie's game whatsoever. Midfield of Højbjerg and Skip with Richarlison, Kane and Son. So it looks like Kulusevski has dropped to the bench, and it looks like probably Richarlison would be in on the right-hand side. Many were, which I'm surprised about, Ashmatic, actually, with Richarlison's sort of interview during after Wednesday night.
Yeah, I'm very surprised because yeah, he was whinging and he's got tears in his eyes like a crybaby. And to be fair, he didn't play well when he came on. He didn't make a difference. He didn't do well. I mean, was it Sheffield United he came on as well? Was it Sheffield United? I just can't even remember. The performances have been so off. Against, I'd say, what? He came against Chelsea and West Ham. He was defensively good, but I mean, I can't remember too much of him when he was attacking. I can't remember too much what happened when he was attacking. If he was assisting or if he was scoring goals. I could talk a bit more about Richarlison, but for me, his awareness isn't the greatest. His first touch isn't the greatest, and his passing isn't the greatest, and that's why it's hard for him to hold up play sometimes, because he's not aware of where his teammates are or where the opposition is. And that's why he loses the ball quite a lot. And his movement off the ball could be better. And sometimes it's not about just taking on your man. It's about attacking the space. So if there's a little bit of space, that's what you want to do, is create a little bit of space for yourself so you can get shots off. And I haven't really seen him do too much of that. But yeah, in saying that, yeah, I'm really surprised. But I think because Son's kind of like, I feel like with Son, I feel like he's Conte's son. That's Conte's son. You know what I mean? The one that he wants to give away to his daughter.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
So he can't really drop Son. He's the smiley, nice guy that, you know, gets caught in the stadium, Koreans inside the stadium. So
let me pose a question to you about Son. Right, you look last season, roaring, shared the golden boot with Mo Salah. But this season, he just hasn't been the same player. Is that because he took too much on this season in terms of out when we were out in Korea doing the preseason tour, plus all the extracurricular stuff outside of football? Is he just simply tired? Is his confidence gone? Is it because of Perisic and Conte's tactics? Or is he a player that is in decline, similar to what we've seen from Hugo Lloris this season? Where are you at with Sonny?
He's not in decline. I don't think he's in decline. I just think
because he is making the basics look awfully hard right now, Ashmatic.
Because his confidence is shot, so he's had to do that. Before, if you noticed, when he was getting the ball and he was in that deep position, he was picking up the ball and dribbling when he shouldn't be dribbling. So he was dribbling into bodies, a bit like how Lucas Moura used to do. Dribble into bodies, and then, or he would receive the ball and his body shape's wrong. Instead of having his body open, he's got his body with his back to goal, if that makes sense. And again, the decision making was poor on his half, and he would lose the ball a lot of the times. And then, as a result, he wasn't. You know, like if you get a knock in the game, or you get a knock of confidence in the game, you stop doing the runs that you would normally do. So that came out of his game, and then on top of it, when he did try to keep it simple, he got less and less involved in the game. So he'd take a first touch and then pass, and then that's it. He wouldn't offer anything more. And then sometimes we'd see him on the right-hand side because you know, Perisic was there on the left. So he thought, oh, let me come over here on the right and see if I can get some of the ball. And then when he came on for Preston North End, he scored the 2 goals when he came on to the right-hand side. It worked out for him. So he tried to do that in the next game. And it just he didn't really kick on after the Preston North End game. It just didn't quite work out. Against Leicester, he was really quiet. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't really himself. We saw him again. I think it was the Forest game. Was it Forest? No, it wasn't Forest game. It was Crystal Palace away, where he scored a goal. And he was, again, it was central. He was on the shoulder. He was in like, it's quite high up the pitch. Looking dangerous, looking like the old Son. He wasn't kind of playing that attacking man. He looked like that second striker role that I was talking about. He was more in those type of central areas where he can cause more of a threat and he can run in behind.
So do you think Son's then played out of position?
I just think I think it's for me, from when I saw it, it's him in the wrong places, his confidence, and Perisic as well. I think Perisic is trying to give him advice, like when he's like, "Shut up, man! I know what I'm doing." You know, like, he's trying to be the daddy, like, yeah, like. And then Perisic is already coming out, apparently saying, you know, he wants to go back to Milan because he doesn't think he's going to be there. So I can only imagine that dressing room's toxic, man. I can only imagine like them arguing.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Like, you've got rumours that Harry Kane went up to speak to Daniel Levy, saying that, you know, him and a couple of others want Poch back. You know, you've got Richarlison coming out speaking the way he did Wednesday night. You've got the rumours coming out that Perisic wants out of here this summer. You know, it's a very toxic place to be right now, for sure it is. But, you know, I expect it to be like that when you're not winning games. But it doesn't look like any of the players really want to take responsibility. I think the only one that I've actually seen take any sort of responsibility this season is actually Son, where he has come out and said, look, I haven't been good enough, this, that, and the other. I think he's the only one that has took any sort of responsibility. As for Son, no, I don't buy that he's being played out of position. It's the same position he played in last season when he went on to score the 23 goals. However, I do think teams have figured us out. They're taking Kane, marking Kane an awful lot more tightly. You know, they're doubling up on Kane, which means he can't get turned and he can't play in Son like he was last season. Kulu has had injuries and he hasn't been the same player, which also means he hasn't been able to get turned, draw players in and hit that space in behind for Sonny to run onto. So then Sonny now, in order to affect games, is having to drop deep to get on the ball with his back to goal. And that's not his game. He's being out-muscled. He's sort of being pushed off the ball. But then I also think there's an element that he's trying so hard to get back his form that he's being a bit selfish, a bit greedy. And I don't think he's finished. I don't want to sell him by any means. I want to keep him. I think he's just a player a bit out of form, out of confidence right now. And I think it'd be interesting to see if he can come back to form and confidence under a new manager that maybe plays a different way. I don't think by any means he's finished or he's a player in decline. Richarlison, I'm very, very surprised that this guy is in the lineup today. It does look like he's on the right, replacing Kulu, especially what he's come out and said. You know, basically said that he moaned about the lack of playing time. But, I mean, he's been injured for large parts of the season when we've had games where we could have rested Harry Kane and played Richarlison up through the middle. But conveniently enough, he said, I played well against West Ham and Chelsea, and all of a sudden I found myself out of the team. Well, he forgot that he had a run against Sheffield United. It was absolutely shambolic. He was piss poor. He wouldn't hit a fucking barn door with an aeroplane, with a Boeing 747, you know? So he conveniently left that one out. And it's like, you've got to understand, you've got to take your minutes. Like, you can't just keep giving someone minutes and minutes and minutes and they're not taking it. You've got to take it at a club like Tottenham. I think Richarlison needs to get with that very, very quick. And I wasn't expecting to be in the team today. But also, Danjuma Ashmatic is a player that many people said, you know, they wanted to see given a go today. They feel like he's been given a hard time. It's a bit similar to the Jed Spence situation. I think Danjuma's has had 46 minutes of football across 4 different sub-appearances. Why are we not seeing more Danjuma? The fans, you know, especially like Wednesday night, right? I know there was a reason why Conte came out and said he didn't bring on Danjuma, this, that, and the other, but we're not scoring goals, but we're not also utilising all our options to maybe try something different, is what people are saying.
I think he's come out and he said, he's not a 10. That's why he's not playing him. He said he's not a 10. He sees him more of a second striker. and he sees him as a winger. And so I've said on a couple of shows that, I looked at his profile and I thought maybe might be an idea playing him wing back, because if he's a winger, put him as a wing back then, because we haven't, like, Perisic hasn't done it. Remember Perisic got to play in the free. I don't know if you remember. He got to start. I think it was against Preston North End, where he was actually up front. He's one of the front three. So technically, Perisic has been attacking mid, but for some reason, Danjuma hasn't been seen in the same light. So it's all excuses.
You more or less alluded that was the club signing, though, right? It was like it was one that
you just basically do the middle finger, say, look, I don't care what you say. It's almost like someone's bought you some toys, and because it's not the toy that you want, like, you're kind of throwing it out the pram. That's the way I look at it. But in certain game situations, you have to kind of put that to the side, especially when we need a goal and things are really tight and we're looking lackluster. There's been so many times when we're just flat on energy. You can just see some of the players are a little bit tired, and we just need to freshen it up a bit. And someone coming on with new ideas, that are more attack minded as well, because there's no point bringing on a third defender when you can play two at the back technically. And yeah, I know it'd be four instead of the five at the back, but guess what? You're going for a goal. Risk not having three at the back and just having an extra attacker on. Don't take off the because guess what? When Porro did actually run forward and he was our most fretful player, he had no one to pass to that was on that right hand side. He looked for Kulu, but Kulu wasn't there. Guess who was there? Sanchez. And we almost won a penalty because Sanchez in that position. Well, you don't want Sanchez there. You want Kulu to be there to take a first touch, beat a man, and take a shot. Who knows? It ricochets and it goes to one of our own players and we score a goal. So that, for me, is Conte being too tactically stubborn in his ways. He didn't want to lose the third man because he wanted to defend a 1-0, basically, a 1-0 loss. That's the way I see it, which is unforgivable. Like, especially when
it was interesting when he was first out. It was interesting when he was first asked about the Sanchez substitution. They were saying, look, there was boos. And Conte's first response was, for the substitution or Sanchez? I thought it was absolutely hilarious. Like, look, mine was for Sanchez and the substitution, to be honest with you. I mean, at that stage of the game, you've got to go for it. But you know what, Ash? I don't blame Conte for sticking to his guns with the likes of maybe a Danjuma and Spence. I don't like it, especially someone like Spence, who's sort of killing his career, before it's even got going. And we actually laid out a transfer fee for him. Someone like Danjuma, look, fair enough. I don't think he's going to be around here next season. But I don't blame him for sticking to his guns because he's never going to get what he wants. And if the sink is shipping, if I was in his shoes, I'd rather it sink my way than, the club making me out to be looked bad, because, they've done it to Jose Mourinho as well, and they keep doing this, bringing in players that they want to bring in and not what the manager wants. So, like, there's no point of hiring a manager of someone like Conte if you're not going to bring in players that he needs, that he wants. You hired him for his system, his philosophy, the sort of players that he identifies to play within that, because you need a certain caliber of player, whether it be mentally, whether it be physically, whether it's, technique-wise or whatever it is. You need that. But we keep going, well, look, what we'll do is you give us a name, we'll take him, we'll put his stats into the supercomputer, and we'll get you someone a lot cheaper just like him. But sometimes them players don't have the mentality, and I don't blame Conte for not playing these guys if it's not what he's asked for. I don't.
I mean, for me, it's a give and take. You've got to use what you have. The tools that you have to use them. There's no point having these tools and being like, oh, these tools aren't good enough. A good workman never blames his tools. A good workman should be able to raise the standard, especially as a coach. As a coach, you're paid 15 to 20 million a year. You know how incredible that fee is? He should be able to pick up someone like a Sanchez, right? And say, look, I'm going to make you into a world beater. Eric Dyer, I'm going to make you into a world beater. I know it's impossible, but he just needs to get the best out of the crop that he has. That's my point. That's it. Bottom line, you're the coach. That's what I pay you to do. All right, you're not there. Because guess what? Supposedly he wanted Ashley Young. Oh, let's get Ashley Young in. You know what I mean? Perisic is a prime example. That was his signing. Danjuma wasn't. Do you understand? But guess what? Perisic stinks. It smells, it reeks. It was absolute howler signing Perisic. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. For all the assists he's got, how many were set pieces? How many were open play? Can he beat his man? Is he attacking space? Has he had even shots on goal? As a wing back, you need to be attacking the goal, shooting at the goal. Is he providing enough sits and open play? Is he taking players away? Is he opening up space for Son to have a shot? Is he switching over with Son? I mean, these are basics. And Perisic has failed, in my opinion. And that was Conte's first signing. It stank. It still stinks. And I think, like, for me, it's too much of an excuse. Because for me, I was in that boat where I was defending Conte. And I was like, oh, my days. Conte, he's the winner. You know, to be a top coach, you need to be stubborn. Because guess what? Your tactics works. And what do we know? We're just fans. And these tactics are one of Scudettos, FA Cups, Premier Leagues, etc., etc. But now I'm looking at the situation we're in, and I'm watching the games. The in-game tactics, it's getting 50 minutes, nothing's happening. 60 minutes, nothing happening. 70 minutes, nothing's happening. Okay, Champions League on Wednesday, that was an exception. But I'm talking about generally. Generally, he would wait to the 77th minute or the 82nd minute. And I know you're frustrated. I know you're thinking,
I am pissed off.
Conte made the substitution. So we can't come back and say, oh yeah, it's because the defenders, he hasn't got the right attackers, and he hasn't got the right this, he hasn't got the right that. I'm sorry. I look at Ten Hag, when he's come in and he's gone and he's gotten the best out of Rashford. Rashford was failing and he's picked up Rashford. Vroom. Look at Rashford now. Rashford looking amazing. He's come in and he's taken that club from where they were and he's pushed them into the top 3. He's come in and he's won them a cup. He's won United a cup. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, look,
go on.
Look, what I will say is, look, I'm not diminishing the trophy because I would want one, and I think we should have a similar run with the FA Cup, and we should be in a semi-final. Because we should be playing Blackburn in the quarters and should be winning that, but we're out. But look, at the end of the day, they also brought in players that Ten Hag wanted, but as well, for me, if you're a manager that has been at big, massive clubs that have won trophies, right? You come into a club like Tottenham that hasn't won trophies and you expect them to do it your way. If you're coming from a club that are worse than Tottenham, then yes, you come in and you get the best out of what's here. But when you're a manager that has a CV, that has trophies on the CV, and you're expecting him to pull the club up to that level, you've got to give him what he wants. If he thinks a player isn't good enough, you've got to back that. For me, I do understand what you're saying, that at times you do have to try and get the best out of what you've got. But that's mainly, for me, applies to a manager that is sort of coming into a club that maybe it's a step up for him, but not a manager where, he's coming into a club that hasn't won trophies and he's got trophies on his CV. You do it his way, surely.
I'm not putting the board like they're just as much as to blame as Conte. Do you understand? The board.
I'll just tell you this quickly: if Pochettino comes back, Daniel Levy's job has to be gone as well.
Listen. It needs to be, for me. It's harmonious. You can't work in conditions where you're not happy, where you're calling the board out every 2 seconds. How do you expect the board to back you if you're calling them out every 2 seconds? Do you understand? Equally, like you said, equally as you said, you can't also just be ignoring what the manager wants and bring in your own players. Do you understand? And saying like, I think this would work for Tottenham long term, and ignore exactly what Conte wants. So yes, the board are 100% to blame, but obviously we're not there in the conversation because we're not there because for all we know, like I said to you before, my example was actually Young. Who else has he? I guarantee. I remember Mourinho saying that. He goes, "I would prefer to work with old players because they like the mentality thing. They're all not old school. Give me an old David Beckham or Ryan Giggs, and I'll work wonders with this team." And I reckon Antonio Conte might have been saying, "Oh, I want this player from Serie A," and he could have been like 32, 33 years old, a bit like a Perisic. And because he didn't get him and he got a younger version or got a younger player, he's like, "Oh, I can't work with this. This is not what I wanted." Rare. It's another excuse. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying it is that. I'm just saying to play devil's advocate because you're probably more right than I am. You're probably right where Conte is not getting the right players for his actual system to work. Because I know if he had two top ball playing centre backs, like that would definitely help Romero's game, definitely, because they'd be able to marshal him. And then we would see, because the way you attack in a 3-4-3, it starts from the back. You need to have a good goalkeeper and a good centre back. And you saw it with Liverpool with when they got Alisson and they got Van Dijk, they won the league. They wasn't far off though. Their attacking was spot on with Mane, Salah. I remember when they first got Mane, that was the first push. Then they got Salah. I was like, why are they getting Salah? They don't need Salah. They already got Mane. They added Salah anyway, and then it went to another level again, and they just kept going to another level. So I do understand the argument where you need the foundation. And look, if Conte was to stay for another year or another 2 years, and we were to get that keeper, and we were to get the solid back three, then I expect us to push on up. I do, I really do. But in terms of what we need right now, I don't think, me personally, this is me from what I saw, my own eyes. The reason why I said the defense, that I brought up the defense, I don't think on Wednesday, if we had like a Bastoni or we had a Guardiola, I still don't think we would have beaten Milan. I just think we were that flat up top that defense wasn't really the issue. And I think that's why people were pissed off that Sanchez came on, because it was flat up top. We weren't creating any chances. And the only chance we did create was from Højbjerg, when Højbjerg runs across the box and then he shoots. For me, he needs to shoot a bit earlier because, again, like I said, you're trying to attack the space. You're not trying to, and he's left it too long, and then he's made the angle narrow. So he's made it harder for himself. So when he did shoot, the keeper found it easier to save. So for me, that was our only chance. And then obviously the one that came to Kane in the 93rd or 94th minute where he headed it. And I thought, for me, that's not good enough. Do you know what I mean? For all the attacking prowess that we have, you need to, as a manager now, say, look, it's not working. Let me get a player that can beat a man. Do you understand? Because how many times have we seen Tottenham bring on players that can actually beat players? Like one, Perisic has been there. He hasn't beaten his players. You've got Son. He's not beating his players. Kulu's not really beating a man no more. Do you understand? So how else are you meant to break the lines if you're pushing up the pitch and you're trying to be more front-footed and a bit more attacking? Because let's face it, we're not doing the Mourinho anymore where we sit back and then we hit teams on the break. We're a little bit more higher up the pitch. So you have to go route one sometimes. Go route one where they're not set and be brave. Because sometimes Højbjerg had the ball, team's not set, and there's a hard ball to pass. But if he makes that pass, they're not set and we're in attack. But he's too nervous and he's thinking, right, I'm going to pass it backwards because it's easier and we're not going to lose the ball if we keep possession. No, guess what? Try to do the hard ball because that's going to push us up the pitch. And guess what? Someone's in a better position to find Kane or find Son, and they're not going to be set. It needs to be either direct, long balls, or we need to be doing quick passes or those hard triangles. And that's the only way we're going to push up the pitch.
No, look, that's fair enough, my man. That's fair enough. We've got Travis. He says, I think, actually, Travis, I'll take this and then I just want to say something. Travis says, I think if Son played behind Kane and Richie for a bit, 3-4-1-2, it would give him more freedom to go on runs, more room to run. What's your thoughts? I think, look, he'd be able to get on the ball, but in the way we play that system, he's going to be getting on the ball and on the halfway line or even a bit deeper. And I'm not sure Son is that player. He's already having troubles holding it up. For me, I think, look, right now, teams have figured us out with Harry Kane. We need a lot more out of the wing-backs. I think, look, Son, I think he should still play the same position he's playing because he played that last season and it's what got him the golden boot. I think it's just simply that he's out of confidence, out of form. I think if he was in form, I think you'd be seeing a lot more from Sonny. Like, interesting, I seen a stat yesterday. I think he scored 3 out of his 5 shots off the bench, but has only scored, I think, 1 out of 54 shots from starting, which is absolutely madness. So is there a tiredness issue there? I'm not so sure. But also, when he has come off the bench, it's been the second half where Tottenham have played well. They've been on the front foot, which means Son is on the ball in the more dangerous areas, in and around the box, on the edge of the box, a couple of them against Leicester out from outside the box. So for me, I definitely think maybe the system or Harry Kane being doubly marked, Kulu being a bit out of form has hindered Son because Son got a lot of his goals last year from just simply running in behind. Just running in behind and other players getting on the ball, turning and playing it. But I also don't think Son is like calm. I think he's been very selfish of late. There are opportunities where he's had to play people and he hasn't done it. He doesn't do it anywhere quick enough for me. I actually don't think that will solve the issue whatsoever, Travis. I can see where you're coming from. I think what would solve the issue if she actually dropped Kane back in there and put Son up top. So Kane's receiving the ball and Sonny's just running in behind. That's what I would do, Travis, my man. I think that probably would solve the issue. Where are you at with that, Ashmatic?
Yeah, so I agree. I think Son in the one and then having the two up top might Son in the attacking midfielder position would suit him because he's there all the time, and he's the only one that can hold on to it, and he's the one that can, if he could drop right, could drop left, and I think that would be a head that would scramble a lot of teams' brains because they're expecting Kane to be at top and then drop in, but then if he was there already, then they're like, oh my days, if I follow him there for the whole game, there's that space it's going to be opening up. But he's our most creative player. It would make sense if our wing backs aren't creating anything to make a player as of Kane's ability just to go there and make Son, just like you said, just spin off and be on the shoulder of the defenders. Like, I think everyone's been calling for that, to be fair. Like, just make Kane a cam. Do you know what I mean? Rather than having Son a cam. Like, Son is, for me, Son's not a cam. He's just not a cam. Kane is a cam. And Kane even said back in the day, we said in his youth development, that's what he started out as. He started as a cam. He wasn't a striker. He said he used to be an attacking mid. And then when he went up front, he said the reason why he was so good at finding Son is because he's a striker himself and he knows where to put the ball. He knows where a striker's going to be. So it just makes all that But for me, okay, listen, I think, forget the formation. It's all about fluidity, cohesiveness, and rhythm. I think if one drops, one pulls. If the other one drops, the other one goes up top. If one goes to left, one goes right. Because guess what? Anytime you move without the ball, it opens up the channel for someone else. And they can't be too rigid in a system. For me, it has to be all, like, if you look at Brighton, you look at Solly Marsh, you look at Matoma, you look at Alex McAllister, you look at their Danny Welbeck's up top, of course. They got other players, but they don't always hold their position. Sometimes they kind of interchange. And I feel like the Spurs were a bit too predictable because we just lack that kind of movement up front, and we just don't know how to attack the space. We always want to take our players. We're not taking our players on. We're not doing anything, to be fair, to create anything for other people, other players, and for the teammates. So I think that chat.
Yeah. Well, look, hopefully today we might actually see a bit of fucking movement, a bit of attacking intent, someone that, if it's not going well, someone that actually wants to step up and be counted. I think them players owe us after that dismal performance against Sheffield United. I think they owe us after that shit performance at Wolves. And I think they also owe us for not turning up on a massive European night. Fans up and down the country, all over the world have done their part. They've tuned into every single game. The away fans have been magnificent with their support. The home fans have also done the same. So now it's your turn. Over to you, Conte. Over to you, to the players. It's up to you to produce today. What I will say is, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Antonio Conte. But for me, I will just give people a quick warning before we end off. Changing manager is not going to solve every problem we have at this club. There's problems here that predate Conte, and we can't gloss over that, And I think a new manager is still going to have to, plug the holes at centre back, plug the holes at goalkeeper, and stuff like that. It's more than a change of managers, which is what is needed at this football club. But look, that's it for myself and Ashmatic. I'll get a quick score prediction off you, Ash, and I'll give one, although it's probably a crime because you can't really predict what this Tottenham team is going to do right now.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I didn't really speak about Forest too much, but I know their danger men is obviously Johnson and Gibbs. Johnson's on the right hand side. He can play as a wing forward, striker, attacking mid. He can play all three places. He's interchangeable. And Gibbs is going to be a star. I think he's just amazing. That's what I wanted to say about Forest. Yeah, he's really good. I'm really impressed with his technical ability, his movement, his actual finishing quality. Like, I think he's a proper player. I like Gibbs a lot. So I'm very excited to watch him today. You know what? Pool have dropped points. I can see the comments. Everyone's saying Liverpool have dropped points and it's our time to take advantage. And Spurs are the type of team where you expect them to lose or expect them to draw, then all of a sudden they come out with a win. So, yeah, like I said to most people, it's the hope that kills you. I'm not hoping that Spurs, will smash Forest, but I expect Spurs to kind of, after all that unsettled and all that rest, to win like maybe like a 1-0, because we're not really scoring goals. So I'm going to play it safe, 1-0. If we get the goal early, then 2. But yeah, 1-0. That's my prediction.
Yeah. Look, for me, I think top 4 is still important for a number of reasons. A manager, you're going to get a better manager if you have Champions League football to offer. You can attract better quality players in the summer in key areas of the squad, like a goalkeeper and centre back, if you've got Champions League football. And also, I know some people don't want to hear it, but the revenue is important. We do need that sort of revenue at this football club as well. So for me, I do want to see a win today. Look, I'll be honest, I'm going to predict a boring 1-0 win to Tottenham. I'm never, ever going to predict Tottenham to lose, even if there is a chance of it happening. You're never going to get that from me. It's just the type of fan I am. But look, at the end of the day, I know it's not a trophy, but we still have top 4 to play for. So let's get the job done today, because what a season that started out with so much hope and promise is now ending in a season where people just want to count down the days and go on holidays. So, guys, hopefully we get the win. Stay tuned for the watch along on the post-match fan show. And myself and Ashmatic, we'll see you again very soon. Come on, you Spurs.
It's a love, man. Yeah.